is. You're saving the world, Ori. You are saving the world one underwriter at a time.
Both of these businesses essentially spend well over $1 million doing what we do for a couple bucks.
Wow. Crazy.
So your perception has to become my reality. And I have to find a way to turn what you're looking at into the way I present myself.
The VC asked, did you graduate college? And he's like, yeah. He's like, we're really looking for dropouts these days.
They basically are looking, what's the business model? What's the revenue potential in the next 2 to 3 years? And where's my money going to go? Are they going to run out of money? That's how they think. And it's logical.
I looked at the data. I think it's 30% of founders who have an exit that raise again have an exit the second time or something.
Before we even went to our investors, we already had our 2 or 3 big contracts signed and ready to go. And it was just up to us to deliver them on time.
Thank God for AI, or that each state would take, each area would take another 6 months. Whereas now we just train the AI and it does that infinitely faster. It's amazing.
They basically are looking, what's the business model? What's the revenue potential in the next 2 to 3 years? And where's my money going to go? Are they going to run out of money? That's how they think, and it's logical.
Welcome to the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by GrowthExpertz. You're in store for a chat about funding, marketing, startups, and all things growth.
All right, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to the Funded Now What podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lee Miller, also known as Andrew Startups. And today I've got Ori Ohayon. Is that how I say it right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ori is the founder and CEO of titl.co. Titl just raised $2.5 million to help with the titling process in real estate. If you don't know what that is, get your money up, get into real estate. No, I'm just kidding. No. Basically, I really have a crazy story about the titl myself. I'm a real estate investor, and it's these old archaic companies that just like make a percentage of every real estate deal for just like connecting you to the buyer and getting some back end stuff done. Seems like someone should have thought of this like 20 years ago, but Ori thought of it, and he's going to tell you all about how he raised millions of dollars for it. Ori, thank you for being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I had this recent crazy story happen. I bought a duplex in Ohio where I'm from, and the old school title company, they send me everything to sign. I sign it. They come back to me. Oh, we just realized the seller missed that their property had a lien on it, this and that crazy thing. And of course, I have good lawyers. I got my money back and whatever. But I just thought, wow, why is this such a weird, laborious process? Like, why is this not done by AI and done by DocuSign like everything else is? So without knowing everything about your product, can you tell us about how you're innovating in the space?
Yeah. So Andrew, like you ran into an issue with the closing. Both Tori and I, my co-founder, ran into very similar issues with our properties. We both were buying our first places and ended up with like legal fees, with processing fees. We didn't understand why it took 2 weeks for us to verify that someone owned a house that they were trying to sell to me. And as we started digging into the issue and trying to figure out how the process worked, we figured out everything is manual and paper-based. And that's like the core of the issue. There's no central database. Anytime you want to find information on a house, you have to go to county records and the property appraisers, and you have to dig out all these documents. And no one seems to have really figured out a way to automate it. So we started building an AI tool that is a series of AI agents that fix it, streamline the whole process, and something that typically takes 2 weeks now takes 4 to 10 minutes with us.
Wow. Wow. Is there a lot of like regulation, like with, other projects that are trying to innovate in the real estate space are running into like antiquated MLS systems and things like that? Are you up against that as well?
So no MLS. MLS is more for the realtor. We deal directly with underwriters, title agents, like the law firms, basically. It is highly regulated. It's very fragile. We have to be extremely careful with what we give them and how we sell it. We're in a highly regulated industry. So we act as basically a data provider. We're really just like a database. All of our stuff is saved on a blockchain, and we just have to stand behind it and say it's as accurate as physically possible.
Nice.
But that's the game we have to play. In order to be able to validate a property, we have to be able to stand behind what we're selling.
Of course. Okay. So amazing. You got it done. $2.5 million raised. How many people are using this so far, and how are you getting those customers?
So we have right now we got a handful of title agents across the US, predominantly Florida, Georgia, Maryland, Connecticut, but we also have a couple underwriters also using the platform.
Got it.
And that's like our core client, basically.
Okay. I mean, who wouldn't want to save 2 weeks of their main core job? I mean, like, is it just like such an eye-opening experience? It's probably like revolutionary for them, isn't it?
When you first describe this to people who have been in the real estate market for a while, they're like, it's impossible. No one can do
Yeah,
this. We've
that's
been
what I thought.
hiring. You would be baffled at how old school people are in this space and how used to it they are. For them, it's a sunk cost. We have to do this. This information has always been managed in this way. And to be fair, the core of the issue is that it's like at the county level as opposed to like a universal database. So we're really building solutions that layer on top of public records. But the core of the issue is the public record. And we're trying to find ways to clean it up, create databases that solve it and that normalize all the information. But
Wow.
when you go to clients and you explain to them, yeah, we run searches in 10 minutes, they're like, how? And then everyone's very skeptical about it. And then you run a live demo and they're like, oh shit, this works.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is, how do we get onto it?
Amazing. And that's cool that it works nationwide because like you mentioned at a county level, like there could be different rules and different level of tech adoption in every county. But how are you? I mean, I guess I kind of skipped over the fundraising stuff, which we'll get back to, but I'm just so interested in how are you getting these early customers? Like you just hand-to-hand combat outreach to underwriters or what?
So it's a couple things. Before we raised, it was very much like hand to hand, very direct relationship building. Tori and I had been building the company for 5 years before we
Wow.
raised successfully. Like we really built out the infrastructure. We attempted building this 2 or 3 times, failed,
The
restarted.
tech has changed. I mean, there weren't AI agents 5 years ago.
Exactly. We weren't even planning on being an AI company. When we started it, it was really just like a blockchain tech company. And then AI was the solution to a bunch of our problems.
Of course. Yeah. What a time to be
So
alive. It just got easier and easier to make to help the customer.
it changed everything. Like our trajectory went through the roof because now it's not like we're not doing like simple data extraction. We're doing like deep AI data analysis, which
Yeah.
we couldn't do 2 years ago. Even 1 year ago, this wasn't really possible.
Yeah, that's awesome though, because you already are experts in the space and really know what the client problem is, as opposed to someone who's an AI agent expert that just comes in and, oh, I need to find a vertical that I can deploy these agents in. And I think that's a really big difference. You're already in the space for a while. And, I actually have dinner tonight with a real estate investor friend, and he's been like trying to build for years on removing agents, like human agents
Hmm.
from the sale process, because that's super antiquated as well. And he's run up against the same bureaucratic old school problems. But okay, well, let's take a step back to the fundraising. I mean, if you've already been building it for years and now the cost of everything goes down with agents, like why even raise $2.5 million? And what are you doing with that money?
So we went out to raise after we proved the tech actually works and that the model is functional.
Smart.
We needed money basically to scale. We had demand before we even went to our investors. We already had our 2 or 3 big contracts signed and ready to go. And it was just up to us to deliver them on time. So we raised based on that. We have 2 fantastic investors who came in on the round. And basically the capital was all to build infrastructure and build out more and more states. When we raised, we had Florida live and we closed basically in December time. Now we have 7 new states going live in a matter of weeks.
Nice. And when you say new state, like there's a marketing playbook or like a legal stuff that you have to do? Like what does a new state launch entail?
So there's a lot of things. So one, we obviously have to build out the tech for every municipality. So it's AI driven. So we train the model based on the local rules, like
Right.
nomenclature and so on. There's a lot of intricacy at the county level. But then we also have to do targeted ads. We have content creation. We have to optimize our website for the region we're going to and the wording they use,
Got
because
it.
like a deed is named something different in Georgia than it is in Florida. So we have to get used to that.
Yeah,
Just the nomenclature on the documents varies. So
that
we've
makes
learned how
sense.
to optimize for that.
Once again, thank God for AI, or that
Yeah.
each area would take another 6 months. Whereas now we just train the AI and it does that infinitely faster. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I noticed something in there. You said ads. So that's the main way that you scale a new state or new county is with ads to those people, or how are you
So
getting
I
those
think it's a
customers?
hybrid because we're in a very new industry. There's only a handful of people who are even trying to do this stuff. So really all of our marketing is focused towards education, brand recognition, really just showing people who we are, what we are. Um, we rebrand originally our name was on-chain listings, and that stressed people out because it was blockchain and people didn't like it. And we came up with the name titl and managed to get the websites and everything. And we're like, this is so it's like so much easier to understand what we do because we produce title data. Super simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Just for anybody listening, it's titl.co. It's not title.com, which it will be when they're worth 100 million or something
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that. Don't say we got the website to everybody else because you didn't get title. No, I'm just kidding. But title.com is probably a book publishing thing, I'm guessing. But we'll talk later about the .co thing. I'm not a huge fan of anything but .com just for
Hmm.
Google and SEO, but it's really SEO is probably not the most important thing for you. Like this is such a niche target. I wouldn't recommend spending money on ads to grow this, but we'll get to the marketing stuff. I want to at least drill down on the fundraising thing. Is this your first time raising money for a startup?
No, so I've raised in the past.
There you
I
go.
had a prior startup and then like half a prior start and then half a startup in between. And then this is really my third attempt.
Okay.
I successfully raised once. I had an exit, and then this
There we
is
go.
really
Congrats.
my second successful seed round, basically.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, then you're the right guy to ask this. Like, for all the people listening that haven't had 3 at bats on the fundraising attempt and sold a company successfully, because I know, and it gets a little easier to raise money after you've already had an exit. People are like, I mean, I looked at the data. I think it's 30% of founders who have an exit that raise again have an exit the second time or something like that. So it goes from being a 1 out of 100 chance to 1 out of 3 chance if people invest with you. So it gets easier there. But so for all the people that haven't had that track record and are trying to go raise money, like what's one piece of advice that you can give that isn't keep going through the nose? Like everybody always says that, like push through the nose. What's a piece of advice for a founder that's trying to raise some money?
So I as annoying as it is, I agree. Like it is a big part of it, just being resilient. Like
Yeah.
you really have to be more resilient than the guy beside you and just keep pushing when people are saying no. But learn, be dynamic and understand why you're getting no's. So when I go to an investor and I present the business, my vision is always going to be very purist and holistic because I'm the founder. When an investor looks at us, they basically are looking, what's the business model? What's the revenue potential in the next 2 to 3 years? And where's my money going to go? Are they going to run out of money? That's how they think. And it's logical. They should think that way.
Right.
So you have to learn from when an investor tells you no, why? Like what is their logic
What's
behind their
missing?
nose?
Yeah.
And you have to tweak your model a little bit to appease them and to really like come up with a combination that is technically like a founder purist vision to a functioning business model and find the happy medium.
Beautiful. Yeah, dude, that makes sense. I think that's a metaphor for life all the time. You got to always put yourself in the other person's shoes on the other end of the phone and think, what do they want? Because if you just say what you want, I want to change the world. I had this problem. I need to solve it. That's really cool. And sometimes they really will bet on the jockey. That's what we say a lot in San Francisco. They're
Hmm.
betting on the jockey. I was in an interview, in a VC call with a client the other day, and the the VC asked, "Did you graduate college?" And he's like, yeah, he's like, we're really looking for dropouts these days. And the founder was like, what? And he's like, well, if you drop out, like you need to make it. You have to make
You have
it.
no
So you're
choice.
going to be
Yeah.
more resilient, no choice. But so sometimes I bet on the jockey, but I think that one of the secret hacks of life is trying to figure things out from the other person's perspective. And that's really, really good advice. Nobody's ever really said that, actually. It's like they only really care about the numbers. And if your whole pitch doesn't make sense numerically, then you're not working on the right thing. in the first place.
Well, it's not that you're not working, you're maybe just not highlighting on the right thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't know where I read this, but I got a quote somewhere in my head and it goes, your perception has to become my reality. And I have to find a way to turn what you're looking at into the way I present myself. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurs miss. They'll repeat the same pitch over and over and not understand why they're getting rejected. But suddenly when you pick up on the trend, then people look at you and like, oh, okay, now I see what he's trying to get at.
Something
but he's
just
saying
clicks.
It's in my language.
Absolutely. I used to coach female friends on dating. I worked at Tinder a long time ago, and like Tinder, back before COVID, companies would like supply dinner for people to stay in the office, and I would stay and everyone would compare dating notes and stuff. And I would always see the data, like, female friend would go on like 4 bad dates and swear off and like, maybe change the targeting at the beginning or something, or maybe, like change a little this, maybe write something else or something period in your profile. And I think it's the same thing. Like overall humans that were just like, creatures of habit, and we just blame the other side a lot. And I never thought about pushing back on that. Like, as the same founder I was just talking about that I went to a VC call with, he was like, like still haven't gotten a lead after like 40 calls. I'm like, yeah, well, it takes like 100 according to this show. I usually ask people, I didn't ask you, by the way, how many calls did it take, or how many investor relationships did it take to close this round?
We tried to raise early and it didn't even work. So it's well over 100 easily.
Yeah. So that's the benchmark, I think, for people. One dude on this entire show has been like, first call, got a check, but he had a previous exit like you. And so with the previous exit, someone's like, yep. And it was a big one, a big exit. They're like, yeah, take my money. So
yeah, of course. But that's a rare
outlier.
case.
Yeah, it's an outlier. So, going back to the dating thing, I tell people the same thing. It's not that you have to kiss 100 frogs, but you got to get a decent enough sample size to figure out what you're doing wrong. And that's how you iterate. So that's excellent feedback. I really appreciate that. Okay, now we can get into the fun marketing part. I think you created enough gold value there for everybody on the fundraising. So I really want to talk about the .co, but I'm going to save that for the end because you got a great smile and I don't want to upset you yet. But so let's talk like growth hacking. Have you thought about any growth hacking like ways to light up a new city, state, county?
So not yet. We've honestly focused, like our clients are very, very big enterprises. Like typically they're insurance companies or law firms or agents. So it's a lot of relationship development, working very closely with them to customize the solution.
Got it.
In our industry, everyone has a different use case and they're all just slightly different. So we always end up having to tweak.
Okay.
Go ahead. No, so I wish like I could turn it into a machine where it just operates on its own, but it's so new. Like it
has to be white glove. You've got to meet with them. Yeah, they're not going to trust blockchain, crypto, Miami bros. No offense.
No, they're not.
They're not. And that's okay. That's actually how startups win too, being willing to do that. And you learn a lot more from customers being willing to put that time in. I have another client, an AI recruitment platform that I'm working with, and they only want to do that white glove stuff. And we've actually found the opposite after driving a lot of traffic. For that space, they do want a self-service thing that they just can click on and get signed up for. But in the real estate space, like the more old school you get, oftentimes, I'm not going to just sign up and do this multi-million-dollar transaction on your platform. I need to work with you. But so what it sounds like is you're working really with like enterprise level customers. So you're not interested in the individual transaction, like the smaller brokerage and stuff like that, or you are?
No, really. We don't really target those people at all. We attempted early on to do B2C sales with homeowners, real estate agents, and even like single investors. And it was way too much work. Like the dollar per click basically was just too expensive for us.
Yeah.
But then
you mean like from ads for customer acquisition cost?
Yeah, from customer acquisition, it was just way too high. We attempted a cold calling model. We attempted cold outreach via email. Nothing really stuck.
Yeah.
And then once we went to the big enterprise users, then we got like a 1,000-fold off of that.
Wow. It's usually the opposite, honestly. It's usually the smaller companies are more tech open, like a tech ready and able to like be your first case studies, your first testimonies, your first logos, and then you use that traction to go convince the bigger companies. But are these bigger companies, are they title companies? Like, are you equipping title companies, or are you putting them out of business?
So no, we're creating an efficiency for title companies and
Okay.
underwriters.
Okay.
So both of these businesses essentially spend well over $1 million doing what we do for a couple bucks.
Wow. Crazy.
So it's a massive, like, we save them a ton of margin.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense with the insurance companies and the underwriters. Like, they're the most money focused businesses I've ever seen, I think. So they're going to, the dollars just make sense, as they say. But,
Mhm.
so I think thinking about things from a customer acquisition point of view might be wrong, though. Like, if you still want those smaller customers, you can do a hands off, like, self-service, campaign to get them. And, like, one is creating a knowledge base and a bunch of YouTube videos, automated email outreach, et cetera. But, like, because again, I want you to exist for the title company that I go and deal with that needed like 30 documents and like 3 weeks to get this done. And if I told you this thing is still not closed, by the way, from August, this thing that I'm buying, and
That's crazy.
I don't want to walk away from the deal because the numbers make so much sense. And it's actually a longer story. The seller acquired the property in a divorce, and it's her ex-husband that had a loan on the property and didn't tell her. So they're in a legal battle, and I'm just waiting. Anyway, that is, shit happens, and it's still going to
Yeah.
make like
But it didn't pop up on the original search?
didn't pop up on the original search. And so I'm like, can't I sue them for that or something? But apparently not. But
Well, that's why you have the insurance, right?
yeah, exactly. I did pay the insurance. I paid that like $20 that no one ever
You have
pays.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got the money back anyway. So my agent is telling me to walk away, and I'm like, I really want this property. It's in my hometown. I know the location is amazing, and both sides rent out for. I mean, it equals like 1.5% of the purchase price per month. So it's like really hard to find anything like that in California. Actually, there is nothing even at 1% here anymore because the costs are so high. So anyway, patience is a virtue. My point is, I think there's free ways to acquire those smaller businesses. And if again, with AI, so I don't know if do you know what sales enablement agents are?
No.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Teach
Shout
me.
out to another client of mine, Chapter Enterprise. They specialize in chapterenterprise.com. They specialize in sales enablement agents. So there's sales enablement agents they're AI agents that you equip your sales team with that turn a brand new, fresh college graduate into a sales expert. One is an AI role play agent. One is an AI chatbot, and the other one is an AI knowledge base. So that's like the three main things that they give. Like the chatbot, it's like in calls, the guy can be like, absolutely, yeah, or it can be listening to the call and then like answer that he can like see, or she can see in real time the right answers to say to a prospect, instead of being like, I don't know, let me go check with the team. I'm brand new. I don't actually know that. So that increases close rate. The AI role play, you get a new employee, instead of having to do manual onboarding with them, you can use it to train an employee like really quickly. And then the knowledge base is the same thing. It's just, so you can use that instead of for sales to onboard those small freemium model customers and stuff. And so you guys are already building lots of stuff with AI. It would make sense to build an AI, like an onboarding workflow, and like let them, sign up free, and then they get taught how to use the product without you having to be involved. Just a thought there, so you
Yeah.
can
No, that
expand,
makes a lot of sense.
because those bigger customers, I mean, the sales cycle still, I mean, how long does it take you to close a big underwriter, like from cold outreach to,
It's long. It takes it's a
yeah.
few months.
Yeah, well, a few months is great at the enterprise
Yeah.
level. I had a client in the past that was in the telecom space, which I have talked about a lot actually on this podcast. People probably think I only work with one company, but it's just a really successful outcome. But they had a 1.5 to 2 year sales cycle. I saw
Jeez.
just on LinkedIn, they just closed a massive customer and we'd been working on them for 2 years. Yeah, but again, the more data that you have access to as a company, the longer the enterprise company has to like really do their due diligence on you. And in the telecom space, they're an analytics platform, data platform, so they have access to like people's call records and everything. And so, but yeah, so a couple months is excellent. But you want, especially if you're ever going to raise funding again, you want just as many small customers as possible. And so I just, I got to at least say the cool thing about, title companies and businesses that are like county and geo specific is we can scrape all of their contact and data from Google Maps, and there's an agent for that. You can build an agent for that. What used to take us a lot of time is like Claude plus an MCP plus some skills and just a long prompt. And you'll get some good data out of that. And if Claude can't do it, then another custom built AI agent or scraper thing can. And yeah, I mean, the last time we did this, we were targeting lawyers for a legal tech platform. We just woke up one morning with 20,000 law firms, physical address, website, phone number, email address. And you can actually growth hack a way to touch them in all four of those places. As weird as that sounds, the verbiage there might have been off. Obviously on email, you can do email outreach. Phone number, you said cold calling doesn't really work. There's actually AI phone, like
Cold
outbound calling
agents.
now, and it's way better than it was even 2 months ago. Especially, I don't know the names of the best ones, but you can train it with your own voice and stuff now, and it's basically you, and then it can do 1,000 phone calls at once, and then when someone says, yeah, that's too much, but I'll say 100 phone calls a day, and then if somebody says yes, it just calls. Hold on, let me get my boss, and it just calls right to you, and so you only get the warm interested people. But what's cooler than that, because again, you don't actually have the time to talk to all these smaller fish. What's cooler than that is for their website, you can have an agent go on the website, go scroll down, find the form, and fill out a message that you give it, a template, and send a message to every title company or every underwriter or everyone. And the deliverability is 100% because it's from their own website, and you don't have any spam issues or anything. And so it's not every day that I get to talk to a business that has a geo focus. You're blowing up over there. I can hear your phone
Yeah, I need to
blowing up.
mute it.
No. It's cool, man. You're a popular guy. Those are probably underwriters that are like, hey, man, we need your
Exactly.
product.
The call of the phone agents are working.
Yeah, they're working again. They're working on you. Yeah. So I mean, I know inside of closing some of those big deals, I do think that there's small and medium sized clients that you could work with that don't need a lot of hand holding. And I always say there's no such thing as bad clients. There's only bad sales and bad prospecting. And so like, you just have to be able to maybe use a landing page, a V2 landing page that doesn't make it look like it's a white glove service and that's self-service or whatever, so that they don't need a lot of hand holding. And then you inject a lot of the AI onboarding, and then boom, you've got a whole new client base of thousands of small guys. Because, I just know that for every city, there's probably 50 or 100 small to medium-sized title
There's
companies
tons
that
of
would
them.
still use it.
And in a lot of states, it's run by attorneys. So every title company has a lawyer on staff,
Right.
and like it's relatively easy to stand up a business like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
We did have a fair amount of success with Claude creating agents to do outreach for us on LinkedIn and creating target lists, even creating like a Google map with pins on all the potential leads in a specific area.
Nice.
Or even finding counties that are trying to digitize their infrastructure. We managed to get a Claude bot to read all the meeting minutes from all the counties in a region and tell us who's discussing digitization.
Wow. Yeah, it's publicly available info.
It's meeting minutes for a county. Of course it is.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. That is smart. And did that work?
It's worked. Yeah. It's worked.
Yeah.
We've actually got a couple intros out of it. Like that's super targeted because we know exactly what we're offering them.
Absolutely. No, and you're hitting them right when they're like, God, I wish AI existed for this. And you're like, by the way, we do exist. So yeah, that's awesome. And it's magic. That's really cool. So, okay, we talked about that growth hacking idea. I had another idea in mind. Okay, so from the PR perspective, anytime you're such an innovative product in such a niche space, you need to do PR. Have you done anything on the PR side, like in the real estate and titling space?
So obviously around our raise, we did a bit.
Yeah,
but we also
that's how we found out about you.
Oh, there you go. It worked. But we also, we do a lot of organic stuff. So we'll give a lot of thought leadership pieces to publications that are in our space. Nice. We'll write them for free. We have partner companies who write them with us. And we give those whenever we have the chance to write them.
Nice.
So that's honestly, it's the best way for us to do PR
Absolutely.
because it does more explaining than sales. And I think once you
Absolutely.
understand the tech, it sells itself.
Going back to the first thing you said, it's about figuring out the value or what the other person on the other side wants. Your story's cool. I do think that I could see you and Tori like back to back like this, and how these two startup bros are saving you 10 hours on your next real estate deal or
We have
something
that
like
picture.
that.
We have that picture.
Everybody has that picture. Everybody, I didn't see it, by the way. I just guessed. No, but everybody
It
has that
exists.
picture, especially a startup in Miami has that picture. No, I'm kidding. At the beach in shorts, like with a volleyball. No, I'm
Yep.
kidding. But no, like that story is valuable, but it's 10x more valuable if you have unique data, or if you have just, something that is like content wise that they can just repurpose for you. And then there's maybe, the guys at blah, blah, blah company did this, then you get a link out of it. But so what I'm hearing is you haven't done like we're innovating in the real estate space, all about you PR push. That's not about the fundraising round.
No.
What about like getting on real estate podcasts and stuff?
We do a lot. We've been lucky. A lot of podcasts reach out to us, either
Yeah.
Tori or myself. A lot of conferences reach out to us. So we get a lot of like organic opportunities like that.
Got it.
Like
Nice.
again, there's so few guys doing what we do.
Of course.
Like even if you have a conference, it's cool to bring someone like us to speak because it's a completely different perspective.
That's what I always tell people too. Like if you're in a niche, you shouldn't even, and you're innovating and enough, you shouldn't even have to pay for conferences. Like who else is adopting AI for this space? Nobody. So they should be begging you to come and present.
Yep.
That's cool. Okay, man, this is the hardest part of the call. Is there any way I could convince you to get off .co, like with any kind of pitch?
Yeah, make .com cheaper.
No. Okay, so I've had legit arguments for months with clients before, but the proof is there now that we have AI. You can ask AI, is a .co versus .com hurting us for SEO and customer and client conversion rate? And I will bet you money AI will tell you yes. The reason is, it's probably antiquated. .com just wins. If you search what you dream to come up for on Google, you'll see that their .com's coming up higher. And when you're working with an old school industry, especially when you're doing like outreach to underwriters and big companies, I mean, you're closing deals. That's fantastic. And I think you've been lucky that the companies that have worked with you can look past anything else besides the results that they're going to get. And that the ROI is strong enough, but a .co does look like a little startup. And so what most of my clients do is we put try or get before the name .com. So gettitle.com, try title, titlere.com, something like that is $10. I'm not going to search it on the fly right now. I should have done so before, but I bet like you could also call it Title Co. And so gettitleco.com. Or usually we try to inject some keywords in there that also increases conversion rate for outreach. So like, AI I've seen to non-tech spaces can actually detract from conversion rate, similar to calling it on chain. Like they don't want to know.
I don't want to put the tech. It doesn't matter.
No, you don't. Isn't that crazy? Like we're so evolved now that AI has reached a burnout point with most people, and especially if they're getting hit up by other AI companies. So they don't need to know how you're doing it.
But
the
like
actual
the sales point isn't the underlying tech. It's the product, and the
It's the
product
results.
isn't.
Yes.
I'm not giving you AI. I'm not giving you a blockchain. So why would you care if you're a client? Like I'm not selling that to you. I'm giving you data.
They don't need to know. What you're giving them is time back in their life, from months to 10 minutes is the gift that you're giving them. Literally life is what you're giving them. So, that's my job, is to make a thing seem bigger than it is. You're saving the world, Ori. You are saving the world one underwriter at a time. No, you know what I mean? But no, well, so have you looked at like, would you and Tori be possibly open to that? I can tell you the waterfall effect that'll happen if we switch to like a .com.
Yeah, well, for sure we are. We've been trying to buy titl.com. That one's been a bit of a struggle.
Yeah. It's probably a dude in Israel sitting on it for the last 20 years. That's what it is often. and he's not going to let it go for anything less than $1 million or something.
Exactly. That's the feedback we're getting.
So then what you do is just well, maybe not get, because get ends with a T and title starts with a T. The problem with titl.com is, I mean, you're not going to have crazy word of mouth for this anyway. It's not like something that someone's going to be in the gym, bro, have you seen title? It's not like that. So you can automatically think that word of mouth isn't that important. It's going to be sent via email. It's going to be sent via text message to other people in the industry. So that's fine. But I generally don't like using misspellings too much, especially because like it's hard for people to find it the correct way. So try trytitl.com is definitely available, 100%. It's $10. But then you also try doesn't actually make sense for this because they're not trying it out. It's used probably. You want them to use title. I've been convincing a lot of clients that are like innovating in the AI space to use with as well, because you're either doing it with title or you're not. You're either an underwriter that's using title or you're not. You know what I mean? Like if you're not, what are you doing? And that's the actual marketing message eventually. Like maybe, after you get to 10, 20 clients, like we have ridiculous case studies. Even you dropped at the beginning, it went from weeks to 10 minutes. And that is the actual above the fold text on the website. Your underwriting done in minutes, not months, with title. Get it? And so the company actually convinced a client to actually rename their company with Q. So it was called Q Concierge. We switched it to with Q because they loved the with so much that the branding and messaging is, they're a voice AI platform for hospitality. So their agents are insanely good at answering the phones for hotels like 24/7 and increasing the revenue of the hotel, not just customer satisfaction. So we're seeing all this incredible client feedback. And now it's really a big differentiator in the industry. They're either with title or they're not. You know what I mean? So with titl.com, just throwing that out there. That's my last
No, I appreciate it.
Suggestion.
I'm going to look into them after this.
Look into it. Me too. Right when we get home, I'm going to check it out. But yeah, I mean, you want it to be easy. You want it to be, optics really matter with these old school companies, and, you were saying that the customer acquisition cost of the smaller companies was high. I would definitely not lean on paid user acquisition for something like this. LinkedIn also, I mentioned to you before we were recording, I do real estate investor networking events in Silicon Valley. Basically, my goal with that is I take Silicon Valley investors and show them way more return for their money in Ohio, where I invest my money. And so we do like a quarterly retreat. I take a bunch of dudes and chicks to Ohio, tour, like, oh my God, they can get a 25 unit building for the price of a 2-bedroom apartment in San Francisco. That's not a joke. That is actually real. And so you're instead of buying a single family home and holding that investment for 30 years while a family lives there, you can get a 25 unit apartment building with management for the same cost in Ohio. When I started the events, DM'd every single person that said real estate investor in Silicon Valley on their LinkedIn. Like nobody responded. Those people aren't checking LinkedIn. The whole point of being a real estate investor is so you don't have to work very much. I know it's a different target, but anybody in the real estate space, like you said, the more old school, the less they're using LinkedIn. So I would not use that. They're using email. They're using their phones. And so if you can rely on that and scrape GMB and Google Maps and get that stuff, I think you can build a huge database. And, you raise $2.5 million. Miami's got really good sales talent. Sales and marketing seems to be really strong in Miami, and you get a hustler that'll hit the phone 100 times a day. I think you'd be surprised what the ROI could be there of somebody like that with that kind of data. But any questions for me? I just threw a bunch of shit at you there.
No, man, you've given us a lot to think about. Yeah, the outreach strategy, we don't even have a sales team. Everything has been through the founders.
And that's fair. Sorry to interrupt you. That's really common. You're supposed to do things that don't scale in the early stages, but now you have millions of dollars in the bank and you want to light up, you're in 7 counties or something you mentioned. How many counties are there in America? Like 300 or something, or 8,000?
It's a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
it's
know.
a few hundred.
There's probably now that I think about it, think there's 15 counties in Ohio. So that would be 750 or so. He's checking right now, just so everybody knows. Let's see.
There's 3,200 counties.
Jesus. So
Yeah.
I would say only half of those are even like active or doing anything. But yes, you've got 1,500 counties. That's checks where you're at. So you need to automate a lot of that, and nobody can hit the phones for all of those counties. I call it ground cover. You have your AI running ground cover, which is your automated outreach, your scraping, your form submissions. All of these things are just automated for the self-service platform. And then they can also expand. Like they start as a smaller customer and then they expand to becoming a white glove enterprise client.
Mhm.
But the sales enablement stuff can also help you scale a lot too, even with the bigger ones. You were talking about listening to the minutes of the counties. If you have an AI recording of all of your sales calls or like onboarding or kickoff calls with these new clients, you can figure out what the most common FAQs are and then create AI around that. So then you just give an AI, hey, this is Jake. He's an AI agent chatbot. He's going to answer any question you have. And that can reduce your white glove time investment per client.
Yeah.
And then you can scale faster because
Make
of
things
that.
faster.
It's kind of like you've mastered the AI on the product side. Now you got to master AI on the client side.
On the
And it just
funnel.
gets
Yeah.
easier and easier and easier to be a billion-dollar company with just two dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
It is the greatest time to be an entrepreneur in history. And like there's two types of people, the people that are super scared and the people that are super excited. I'm in a bubble of all the excited people. I saw an interview with Diplo yesterday, not to quote a DJ, but because I'm straddling two worlds. I go home to visit family in Ohio, and people are like very averse to AI still. Like it's insane. His quote, I'm quoting him. This is not from me. He's like, if you're anti-AI, you're stupid because you're going to get passed up by the people that are adopting it faster. And in a year, you're not going to have a choice,
Mhm.
and so you're going to be behind. And if you want to stay in business, you just have to do this at this point. It's par for the course. And I think that needs to work into our messaging when we reach out to these, not calling them stupid, but literally like, hey, the time has come. If you're going to continue to do things the old way, you're not going to be in business anymore. And it's no longer, hey, we've invented this AI for the space. They know someone's doing it. They know the same thing with this voice AI tech for hospitality. The first 6 months of working together, we were saying, hey, we've invented this AI. And they're like, yeah, we've heard this pitch before. And now we actually figured out how to benchmark. Are we the best in the industry? And then now, of course, we are, because I'm a marketing guy. And
Mhm.
and now we're telling them, you've heard about the rest. Now we're the best. There's the old way, and then there's this new way of doing things. And here's the results of the new way. And so the marketing message has to evolve now also with how AI is changing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Cool, man. Well, it was a real pleasure. Thank you for that gold at the beginning, and congrats on all your success. Yeah, I'm gonna send you a lead of a really tiny title company in Ohio that needs your help.
Do it. Thank you.
I will, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
That has been another episode of the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by GrowthExpertz. If you liked this episode, please subscribe. And if you really liked it, please share with other founders and entrepreneurs. Thanks. And we'll see you in the next episode.